Good morning. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Yesterday I had an estimate that I had to go to that kind of upset me. Let me back up a little bit. 4 years ago, I got a job to help a client out. He bought this big property. It was over 20 acres in a somewhat virgin oak woodland. There was a little tiny cottage there, so somebody had lived there for quite a while, but the majority of the property was pretty wide open. And this person, he was a doctor. He was an oncologist, a cancer doctor. He was very concerned about his property, and he especially was concerned about the condition of his oak trees. And I thought, wow, I really like this guy. So he called me in and asked me to take care of his trees and prune the trees. And so we worked there for about a week. And I talked with him every day. There were some days he actually came out and worked with us. And I thought, this guy's pretty cool. How many doctors get out there and get their hands dirty doing what we do. Anyway, we put chips down underneath all the trees. I talked to him about the importance of the proper cuts. I talked to them about all the aspects of quality tree care. And I even ended up doing some bobcat work for him. I tore down some of the old sheds and we filled up 3 or 4 huge 40-yard dumpsters with all the crap that was on the property and cleaned things up. But I was being very careful. I didn't want to damage any of the roots. Okay, that was 4 years ago. He never called me back. Well, I got a call from him just the other day, and he wanted me to come up, and he asked me if I could do some more bobcat work for him. Well, sure. So I showed up yesterday, and I was probably about 20 minutes early. So I got to the same property that I'd worked on 4 years ago. Remember, it was a virgin piece of property and all these trees that really had never been touched before. And there was this massive, big mansion being built. It's still got a long ways to go. And it was kind of a shock. It was like, oh my God, this huge building. So I wandered around, and while I was wandering around, I got to thinking, it started bothering me. I thought, that was 4 years ago, and all these trees have been worked on. So he didn't bother to call me back. And I thought, did I do something to upset him? Did I piss him off? Or my rate's too high? I didn't think so. So I'm looking at all the trees as I'm going up, and I see all these bad cuts everywhere. There's stubs and flush cuts, and I'm just thinking, oh man, he didn't learn a thing. And then I went up around to the front of the property, and there was a driveway that went all the way around his prized oak trees. I should tell you that at the time, when I first did the job, he said, these trees in the front are my prized trees. This is going to be my entryway. These are the ones that are really important. Well, he severed all the way around. Granted, it was out to the drip line, and he put a trench and he put a big wall all the way around these so that he could shape his driveway. And all these roots were exposed. They were just sitting out there in the air. Granted, they were the small absorbing roots, but that's very damaging to a tree. And I thought, he really didn't listen to me. He didn't listen to me at all. So then I went in the house and I was looking around, and beautiful, beautiful house. But then I started noticing things. Everything started irritating me. I went to the kitchen, and he used black walnut for all of his cabinets, black walnut veneers. He hired a company to do all these book matches. And I thought, from a distance, I walked in, I thought, wow, this is going to be amazing. And then I started looking at it closer, and some of the book matches were pretty good. A lot of them were off. And I started looking at, and the more I looked, the more I realized that he didn't really know what he was looking for there. He just told somebody, he said, I want black walnut. And he heard the word Claro walnut. He says, I want Claro walnut. So they did this, which should have been absolutely gorgeous, but there was this mismatch of woods, including different types of walnuts. You could see that there was a different variation And I just thought, this is, once they polished this up and finished it up, it's going to look terrible. It's not going to look right at all. But he doesn't know any difference. In his mind, it's probably beautiful. There was Eastern black walnut, which has a completely different color to it in some of the drawer fronts, with the claro darker black walnut on the top and mismatched. Anyway, just the long and short of it was, as I was walking through the house, I started seeing all these things that were just not quite right. The rest of the kitchen, they were spray painting other cabinets white, and they didn't cover up all this beautiful woodwork. So there was kind of a fine paint mist that just went over all the woodwork. They didn't put paper over it. They didn't protect it. And the counters, that was a work surface for all the contractors, not the woodworkers, the other contractors. So there was stuff all over the place. I thought, what is this guy thinking? Or clearly the people that he's hired are not considerate of the quality of the woodworking. Anyway, I'm digressing here a little bit, and I just wanted to come to the reason why I'm making this video, because I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, this guy, he's an oncologist, he's a cancer doctor, but he and his workmen are the cancer to this property. All the trees, everything about this property is being degraded because he's doing to it what he wants, but he's really not listening to people. He's not listening to me. He's not listening to, the advice that he's getting. And all over the place, there was things happening. What he asked me to do was cut another road all the way down the side of the property so that he could put in a deer fence or some kind of a fence that would have cut through the root systems of all these trees. And it was on a steep slope, so I told him, that's too steep. I can't do it. And, I told him there's other contractors that'll do that have bigger machines. But then it really bothered me. I thought, why did I say anything? Well, I know this is what he wants to do. So he's going to do it. He's going to do what he wants to do, regardless of the outcome. And then he's going to come back and say, what's wrong with my trees? Well, cancer got his trees, and he is the cancer. So think about that. When you're doing a project or when you're advising on a project, don't be the cancer that's going to be the long-term decline of the trees. Make proper decisions. Make the right decisions. Know how to make proper cuts. Know when you're taking out too much. Know what is right. And more importantly, don't do what's wrong. Even if they ask you to do it, don't do it. Don't be the cancer.